OpenAI Agents SDK. This one has 4 core concepts in total, and most developers get a working agent running in 2 or 3 days. It is the easiest starting point on this list. It runs OpenAI models natively, and around 100 other models through an adapter layer called Light LLM, but you need to read the fine print here. OpenAI's own documentation warns that structured outputs and their hosted tools, like web search, will degrade or break when you use a non-OpenAI model. So it is model agnostic in theory, but it is clearly shaped around OpenAI in practice. On the numbers, it has roughly 28,000 stars and about 1.5 million downloads a month. It is MIT licensed, so it is completely free. Here is the significant caveat. It is still on version 0.19. 16 months after launch, there is still no 1.0 release, which means there is no formal guarantee that the API will not change under the hood. It is also thin on memory and crash recovery. So if you are building something long-running, you will be writing that part yourself. Choose this if you are new to agents, or if you are prototyping and want working code today. Claude Agent SDK. Anthropic's framework is genuinely different from the others, and there are 2 things about it you should know before you start. The first is that it only runs Claude models. You can run it through the Anthropic API, through AWS Bedrock, or through Google Vertex. But those are just different clouds serving the same Claude models. Someone opened a GitHub issue asking for support for other models, and it was closed as not planned. If you want a different model, you need a translation gateway sitting in front of it. The second is that it is not open source. GitHub displays an MIT badge for some bundled components, but Anthropic's own documentation states that use of the SDK is governed by their commercial terms of service. What you get in exchange is substantial. Reading files, editing files, terminal access, and web search are all built in already, because this is essentially Claude code packaged up as a library you can build on. The feature that matters most is automatic context compaction. Every model has a memory limit, and agents normally stop working the moment they hit it. This SDK compresses the older parts of the conversation automatically and keeps going, which is what makes hour-long runs possible. It has about 8,000 stars, up from under 5,000 back in March, so it is growing quickly. It is also still pre-1.0, and because it bundles the Claude Code command line tool, the install is over 90 megabytes, and Node ends up in your stack whether you wanted it there or not. Choose this if your agent works on a codebase or a set of documents. Avoid it if you need to switch between model providers. Google ADK. Google's Agent Development Kit lets you write some steps as ordinary code that runs exactly the same way every time, and hand the model only the steps that genuinely require judgment. It runs Gemini natively and other models through Light LLM. It supports Python, Java, Go, and TypeScript, which is the widest language coverage of anything here. It has 21,000 stars, and it is Apache licensed and free. Now here is the warning you need. ADK version 2.0 became generally available in May 2026, and it was effectively a rewrite. It broke the agent API, the event model, and the session format. Sessions created in 2.0 are not compatible with older 1.x versions. This means a large number of the tutorials you will find online simply no longer run. They also changed the default model in a minor point release. On the positive side, it ships with a local browser interface for watching and debugging your agent as it works, and no other framework here includes that. Choose this if certain steps must be deterministic, or if you are already on Google Cloud. Just check the version number on any tutorial before you follow it. Microsoft Agent Framework. Microsoft used to have 2 competing frameworks, AutoGen and Semantic Kernel, and you had to choose between them. In April 2026, they merged both into a single framework, and the 2 originals are now in maintenance mode. So any tutorial covering those 2 is a dead end. It supports Azure OpenAI, Anthropic, and local models through Ollama, among others. It has around 13,000 stars. It is MIT licensed and free. That makes it one of the few frameworks here that formally promises API stability. You can also define agents in a configuration file rather than in code, which means someone non-technical on your team can adjust how the agent behaves. The downsides are clear. Outside the Microsoft ecosystem, there is not much reason to pick it. Some parts are still in preview, and agent-to-agent communication was listed as coming rather than shipped. If you are working in .NET, this is your only serious option. LangGraph. This is the real production leader, and on the number that actually counts, it is not close. It gets roughly 69 million downloads per month. Uber, LinkedIn, and Klarna all run it. It is genuinely model agnostic, and that is largely because no model vendor owns it. It reached 1.0 in October 2025 with 0 breaking changes, and the team committed to no breaking changes until a hypothetical 2.0. Compare that to what happened with Google ADK. What you get is state saved at every single step, so a run can survive a crash. You can pause execution and wait for a human to approve something. And if the agent makes a bad decision at step 7, you can go back to step 6, change the state, and continue from there instead of starting over. The cost is that this is the hardest framework here to learn, typically 1 to 2 weeks. You are writing the orchestration yourself, so simple projects end up with more code than they would elsewhere. Learn this one second. CrewAI. It is organized around roles. One agent is the researcher, one writes, one reviews. It is the fastest way to a working prototype, roughly 20 lines of code, and most people get there in under a day. It works with any model through Light LLM. It has 48,000 stars. It is MIT licensed, and it has the best support for both open standards, MCP, and A2A. There are two real downsides, because every agent call includes that agent's role and backstory. Independent tests measured around 18% higher token usage in typical workloads, and up to 3 times higher on simple tasks. At scale, that is a real bill. Its crash recovery is also weaker than LangGraph's, so it suits shorter tasks better than long-running ones. What makes this decision lower risk? Here is the reassuring part. 2 open standards now exist. MCP defines how agents connect to tools, and A2A defines how agents communicate with each other. All 6 of these frameworks support MCP. That means the tools you build are portable. If you switch frameworks later, your tools come with you. How to actually choose? If you are new and using GPT models, start with the OpenAI Agents SDK. If your agent works on files or code, use the Claude Agent SDK. If certain steps must be guaranteed, use Google ADK. If your company runs on Microsoft or .NET, use Agent Framework. If you need real production reliability, use LangGraph. If you want a multi-agent demo running quickly, use CrewAI. And if you need formally stable APIs today, keep in mind that both OpenAI's and Anthropic's frameworks are still pre-1.0. One last thing. If you only have one agent and 2 tools, you do not need any of these. Just call the API directly. Every number in this video is from August 2026, and this space moves fast, so verify before you rely on any of it. Let me know which one you are starting with, and I will build a full tutorial on whichever gets the most comments.